Welcome back to another edition of the Pagcast. I'm your host, Michael Pagani, joined alongside Assistant GM, General Manager of the Columbus Blue Jackets, Josh Flynn. Josh, how are you today?
I'm good. How are you, Michael?
Oh, I'm doing great, thanks. You're in the car. Where are you off to?
We're just getting out of town for the weekend. We have a lake house. We're renting a lake house for the weekend. Just change scenery. It's been in our house for 3 months almost. So.
Well, that's good. It's good to get away from the house and almost get away from everything, because of how crazy it is.
Absolutely.
So lots of people have watched Tiger King, among other hit TV shows. What else have you been doing during quarantine?
We were quite busy for the first 2 months of it anyway. Other than watching Netflix like everybody else, but we got some contracts done. We've been planning for different kinds of return to play scenarios. We had our scouting meetings. Preparing for the draft that took a couple weeks. We've had meetings with our pro scouts. We've had meetings with our management group. So just trying to stay prepared for whenever we get back rolling again and when business gets closer to normal.
Have you ever been watching like the NASCAR or Bundesliga ever since its return?
So I never watched a maybe one Bundesliga game before this, and now I've watched probably 5 in the last week or so that it's been back. It's good to have live sports back. I watched the Tom Brady and Peyton Manning and Tiger Woods and Phil Mickelson golf match that was on the weekend. But like with the team sports, it's really interesting to see what the Bundesliga is doing, and they're kind of the canary in the coal mine for the rest of us, and we're all hoping it goes, or at least I'm hoping it goes off without a hitch and does well, and it's a sign of good things to come.
Yeah, I'm sure everyone is sports thirsty, and I'm sure that the TV ratings have gone up for both NASCAR and Bundesliga ever since its return.
I'm not sure if they have or haven't. I would hope that they have, yeah.
Yeah, definitely. Now, speaking on your past, how did you get into general managing?
I was a law student, and I grew up in Toronto, and always wanted to be in management in the NHL, and went to law school in Denver, Colorado, where I started working with an agency, and got my foot in the door that way. And they knew I always wanted to go onto the management side, and helped me open some doors, and made the move to Columbus a little over 12 years ago, and I've been at it ever since.
How busy are you during the season?
During the season?
Yeah.
During a normal season, I'm on the road probably half the month, in the office the other half. Different times of the year call for different things. Early in the season, there's not so much in the way of research and contract stuff. We get our analytics up and going, and we're just kind of tracking stuff, but it's no real conclusions early in the year. We have a team that works on that, and good people that work on that. And then I'll spend a lot of time early in the season on the road because it's less busy in the office, and you can get out there and see a lot and get a good reading of the league under your belt. And then as we get closer to the trade deadline, it's kind of more around the team. I travel with the team some. We have meetings internally, get ready for that. And then after the trade deadlines, get ready for the playoffs, get ready for the draft, get ready for free agency. So there's always a lot to do. So
what would be a typical game day for you?
Typical game day? Generally, we'll go in the morning, watch morning skate, meet with our management group, go home for a bit, come back mid-afternoon, get some work done, see if there's anything we need to meet about and cover. Then we just watch the game, and I'll file a report on our games. I'll look at the analytics on our games, and otherwise just see how our team does.
Now, you speak upon analytics. Do you ever go into deep analytics like Corsi and that stuff?
Yeah, of course. Corsi's been around for a long time. That was kind of one of the foundational pieces that teams started to use for analytics, and we've gone even deeper than that with a lot of microstat tracking that we get from Sport Logic and from a couple other sources to kind of piece together on the junior level, and then we'll expand that to take in what the league's going to start tracking next year with their player puck tracking system.
How stressful is it on trade deadline?
That's a pretty stressful day for sure. You're generally up early, you're in the office early. I'm usually in the office by 7:30 or 8 in the morning, and then you're watching the clock the whole time. And we'll be sitting there, Yarmo's phone will be ringing. We're tossing trade ideas around. We're responding to trade ideas. We're discussing them as a group. We're trying to figure out what makes sense. We've done a lot of homework before that, so we have a lot of groundwork set. But on that day, it kind of all comes together, and you got to have your wits about you because, everything's under the gun of the 3 o'clock deadline. So as it gets closer to 3 o'clock, things tend to heat up, and you just got to be sharp and ready to think fast. And it's a really exciting day. When 3 o'clock hits, it feels like it's 8 o'clock at night, and you're ready to go home and take a nap.
Yeah, I'm sure it is. I'm sure you're very tired by the end of it since you're up so early.
Game after that, so yeah, for sure. Well, and not only that, like the days leading up to it are long. The days leading up to it are kind of like mini trade deadline day. There's lots of action. There's lots of calls. There's lots of things to discuss, and you're just thinking. Your mind's working a million miles a minute. So, by the time that day comes to an end, it's taken a little bit out of you. Yeah.
Now, how much control do you have over NHL draft picks?
I wouldn't say I have that much control. We have a great amateur scouting staff. They're the ones out there watching the players all year. For me, like I'll advise them and advise Yarmo on maybe if we should trade back or trade up. Something like that makes sense, and try and provide them insight to help them manage the draft and get expectations for if there's a guy on our list that we like, is he going to go maybe a little later, is he going to go earlier? But as far as deciding on the players, that's up to the guys who do the work all year.
Now, you did get promoted to assistant general manager this past June. What were your feelings when you got that call?
I was very excited. It's a position I'd worked for that title for a long time. Not a whole lot changed in my job, maybe just a little bit. But it was, recognition for the work I'd done. So I was very, very glad to receive that promotion.
You were around when the Blue Jackets won their first road and home playoff game in 2014 against Pittsburgh, right?
Yes, I was.
What did both of those wins mean to you?
Both of them were very special in their own ways. I mean, the first one, Game 2 in Pittsburgh, Matt Calvert scores in double overtime, and our first playoff series, I was there for that one too, and we got swept. We lost Game 1 against Pittsburgh. That game, and we were up in Game 1, and they came back and won. Game 2, if I remember correctly, was more of a seesaw affair, and it went to overtime. And I just remember pacing the hallways in the press box in Pittsburgh between the first and second intermission, and then Matty Calvert scores in overtime, and it's just like it's a feeling you can't describe to watch your team win a playoff game in overtime. And then, of course, the Game 4 win on home ice was probably more memorable for everybody, and everybody in Columbus has seen the highlights over and over. And there's actually highlights of me jumping up and down in the press box after that goal went in to win the game. Nick Foligno scored from just inside the blue line. But we were down 3-1 and we came back. Brandon Dubinsky tied the game with about 30 seconds left in the third to force overtime. And so it was just exciting to get to overtime on home ice, which we'd never done before. And then the roof almost came off when we wanted an OT.
Would you agree or disagree that those wins, the first playoff home and road win, were long overdue?
Sure. I mean, it took 14 years, so I'm sure that the city and the franchise would have loved to have won it earlier. But it was sweet when they did come. Yeah.
Now, this past playoffs, Columbus did shock the world and pulled off a complete bracket buster as they swept the Tampa Bay Lightning. What were your reactions when that happened?
I mean, it was intense, and even going into Game 4, as good as Tampa was, you didn't think it was over until it was over. I mean, I remember being in Tampa for Game 1, and we fell behind 3-0, and against a team like that, it was hard at that point to kind of visualize the way out, but our guys stuck with it and turned the tide. We came back and won that game, and then we really took it to them in Game 2, and then it was like, okay, we've got something here, and just to watch the guys execute a system and play for each other, I was really proud of them. I was really proud of the team we helped put together, and just to see it come together and pull off a historic win like that, it was a special moment that I'll remember for a long time.
Well, I mean, credit's got to be given to you as well, since you helped with some of the trading.
Well, I mean, I will accept any credit anybody wants to give, but I mean, credit first to the players. I mean, they came together and they found a way to do that, and it was quite an accomplishment to our coaching staff. But yeah, I mean, I am proud of the small role I played in it, and you work as a team to achieve these things, and when you can be a part of it and then see the result that the team comes up with, I mean, it's very gratifying for sure.
Now, that Columbus team did become the first team in NHL history to sweep a President's Trophy winning team. Do you ever think there's a curse that comes with the President's Trophy?
I mean, I don't. I don't really buy into that. I mean, winning playoff series is very hard. Every year, there's several very good teams that can win the cup. I mean, let's say you'd say there's 6 or 7 or 8 really good teams. All of them are cup worthy. I mean, you're still only looking at a 12.5% chance that you're going to win the cup if you're one of those teams. Winning the President's Trophy, there's been plenty of President's Trophy winners that have won the cup. It's not like it's something that happens once every 20 years. I mean, lots of them do win, but it's by far no guarantee that winning the President's Trophy is going to get there. But no, I don't think it's a curse.
Now, with your job entailing you to deal with salary cap, what's the biggest problem with that?
I don't know that there's a biggest problem. I mean, right now, there's a lot of uncertainty where we don't know where the cap's going to go. Normally, by this time of the year, you would have that clarity, and it makes it easier to plan and easier to game out your scenarios for the off season and the coming seasons, and where you want guys to fit. But this year, it's a little challenging. I mean, it's a unique challenge this year to try and plan for that, knowing the cap might not go up, it might go down, it might go up a little bit. So it's a total twist from before coronavirus. Everybody would have thought the cap's going up. So you got to think on your feet again and just try and regame it all out. And actually, that's one of the things we spend a lot of time on the first few weeks of the shutdown.
Now, with free agency, it's definitely pretty hard to find. We've seen over the history of the NHL, it can be hard to find what both sides want with the player and the team. How hard is that?
Like, how hard is it to find a fit? Or
yeah. How hard is it to find like the middle ground for both the team and the player to feel great?
Well, I think when you get to free agency, the market will kind of dictate that. Now they have this interview period for a few days before you can actually sign players. So teams have more time to talk to players. Players have more time to get a feel for who's interested, get a feel for what the market might be like. So I think, the cost is the cost. I think you make a decision on if what kind of price range you're going to be in, and then it kind of solves it out. If the player wants to come to you, what market value is, which kind of comes to the forefront pretty quick. So I think as long as the player is happy with the fit and you're happy with the fit for the player, you end up feeling happy with the money.
With the 2014 playoff format, the Blue Jackets are set to face the Toronto Maple Leafs. Who could be the X factor for the Blue Jackets against that series?
Well, I mean, there's lots of players on our team that can be an X factor. We're getting healthy, which is big. I mean, Seth Jones is an all-star defenseman and has received Norris Trophy votes before, and we're getting him back. So certainly that the reintroduction of him to our lineup is going to help. Getting Oliver Bjorkstrand is going to help. How our goaltending plays is going to go a long way, as it always does in the playoffs. Sometimes you don't know where the X factor is going to come from. It's there's lots of unsung players that become playoff heroes. So we'll look to see who can make their mark. And if any team, if it's going to succeed in the playoffs, especially the way we play, it's going to be by playing as a team and getting there as a team.
Now, fans around the league have been saying that the winner of this year's Stanley Cup will be attached with an asterisk. Do you agree with that chatter?
That's discussion for the fans. I'm sure if we won the cup, it would be a moment we would treasure for the rest of our lives. Everybody that's involved, and I don't believe they'll be putting any asterisks engraved on the Stanley Cup. So your name will be on there regardless of what the fans say about whether there's an asterisk or not. So,
how do you make sure that the team doesn't buy into those talks, that those talks don't get to the team mentally?
It's not really something I'm that worried about, to be honest with you. I mean, we have a good group of professionals, and I don't think that will enter their mind.
Now, John Tortorella has been a character when in front of the media. Is he the same off camera?
No, not at all. He's, I mean, everybody's a character, right? I mean, everybody has something about them that you know, when you look at them in a window like the media, something will stand out about them. But he comes off a certain way to the press and has this reputation. But if you know him and you work with him and you're on a team with him, he's a really great guy. He cares a lot. He's very well prepared. Very good coach, and it's been a pleasure to work with him for the past 5 years.
Do you believe that the media can portray his character in a different way than intended?
I don't know. The media does all kinds of things that we can't control.
That is very true. So I am from Burlington, and it is very special to the community when a player makes it to the NHL. What are your thoughts on Josh Anderson and where he came from?
Josh Anderson is, I mean, coming into the league as a fourth-round pick. I mean, the odds are always against you as a fourth-round pick, less than 20, become players of quality in the NHL. To see everything he's done throughout his career, from London to the AHL winning a Calder Cup to being a big part of our teams over the years. It's a great story, and we're proud of what he's become as a player.
Now, are you able to, I know you got injured this year, are you able to provide any health updates to the fans?
I don't think that's for me to do at this time, but I know Jarmo mentioned in an interview yesterday we're getting close to health on most guys. We're going to have pretty much everybody back when and if we resume.
Now, the NHL and local media outlets are replaying past games until the NHL starts back up again. Are you getting bored of those reruns?
I've seen two of them, yeah. On there, they had World Cup, and it's sad that living in the U.S. I haven't been able to watch some of those because I'd like to watch some of those, but I've picked up some of the Cup clinchers on NHL Network. FS Ohio replayed our whole series against Tampa. I watched a good portion of that. Fox Sports Ohio replayed the game where we won the Calder Cup in Cleveland. I watched that one. So here and there, I've been kind of chiming in when it's an interesting game. But yeah, I mean, I think it's good that it's been out there and people can relive memories. I think Sportsnet's replaying or NHL Network is replaying the entire 2002 Eastern Conference Finals today, and I'm not home, but I would have liked to watch that. I was at a few games of those series back when I was in college, watching the Leafs. So that was a good series for sure.
Now, throughout I guess you could call this the isolation interview for me, I've been interviewing a good amount of play-by-play people. Are the guidelines different for front office members regarding when you do go back to the arena?
We're still waiting to hear, to be honest with you. I don't know for, who needs to be down in the locker room around the players, who needs to be in the building, who needs to be traveling with the team. We're still in wait and see mode. I'm waiting for guidance from the league.
In spite of fans not being able to return to the arenas this year, how big would it be for the city of Columbus to be earned as the Eastern Conference hub city?
I don't want to speak too much about that, but I'm sure, just as a Columbus resident, I'm sure it would be a source of pride for the city to host an event like that, and I'm sure it would be good for the economy. But that's out of our hands, and we'll see what happens.
Did anything surprise you from Bettman's press conference on Tuesday?
Not really. I mean, the league is good about consulting with teams along the way and soliciting feedback. And early in the process, I think they were listening to a lot of teams. So, I mean, we get regular updates from the league, and I don't think. And then, of course, people are leaking stuff out too. So that there was a lot of it, came out over the weekend, and I don't know that there were too many huge shocks from what he said, but we're just glad to be inching closer to a return.
Now, final question here. Do you have any advice for aspiring general managers?
Yeah, absolutely. Anybody that wants to get into management, I mean, there's a way in, even if you didn't play the game at a high level, or, you don't have any connections right now. I certainly did not have any connections in hockey when I broke into the business. Just work hard, be passionate, make sure your passion comes through in your work, build relationships, don't shy away from sharing your work with people who are in the business, who can both give you feedback and who will speak on your behalf. That'll go a long way.
Awesome. Well, I'd like to thank Josh Flynn, the Assistant General Manager for the Columbus Blue Jackets, for joining me on today's Pagcast.
Thank you. It's great to be here.